Welcome, welcome to the Green Nurse podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. You deserve to feel good. We all deserve to feel good. And before we get started, I'm going to show a little video about what we do in the cannabis space as nurses, and then we are going to dive right into our show today.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship, and what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Well, there you go, everyone. Growing in health, growing in cannabis. Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Mack. I'm the Vice President of Nursing and co-founder of Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse. I'm a cannabis nurse, cannabis patient, advocate, activist, and as you all know, a very passionate podcaster here to change the paradigm of health. I'm really excited to announce that this is my 7th year podcasting The Green Nurse, Living Your Best Life. I started podcasting in 2018 when the National Council State Boards of Nursing came out with their guidelines that all nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. I started podcasting to share compelling stories of healing and to decrease stigma, since I too use cannabis as medicine. But before we get started on our very exciting show, we do have a message from our sponsors today at Bloom Hemp. And in case you don't know about Bloom, I'm going to tell you all about them. Bloom Hemp is a woman and nurse-owned national CBD and hemp supplier, leading with quality, safety, value, and patient-centered care. Bloom Hemp products are USDA organic, grown in the mountains of Colorado, and are tested for purity, potency, cannabinoid, and terpene profiles. Bloom Hemp is proud to offer a free nurse line to answer questions and explain how and why CBD works in the body. And Bloom Hemp also has an amazing coupon code, 10% off for free shipping and 10% off your total order. And they also have a free nurse line as well, 970-404-HOPE. Thank you so much, Bloom Hemp, for sponsoring the Green Nurse podcast. And if y'all haven't noticed, there's a lot of talk about cannabis nursing. And cannabis nursing has been recognized as a specialty. And nurses are truly making an impact on advocating for the safe therapeutic use of cannabis. And that includes teaching safe consumption and how to mitigate side effects if someone accidentally overconsumes too much THC. And our guests today are going to be sharing their journey to cannabis and how they crafted a product line for safer cannabis consumption experience. Alice Stone and her son, Eli Stoloff, are here to discuss the product Soft Landing and the story that brought them to creating their company together. Alice Stone has been a documentary filmmaker for over 30 years. She invented Sipify, which we're going to talk about, an innovative reusable straw that helps people sip more confidently. Soft Landing is her new wellness company she founded with her son, Eli Stoloff. Eli is a graduate of the Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management at Cornell University, with an extensive course load featuring entrepreneurship, marketing, strategy, and finance. He is prepared and excited to apply his education to operating Soft Landing. They're launching the first ever reverse edible that counteracts the psychoactive effects of THC. If you're using cannabis medicinally, you don't always want the psychoactive effect, or if you're pleasantly high and suddenly life intervenes and you need to dial it back, their chocolates give you that soft landing. And of course, if you find yourself way too high, which a lot of people have been there, Soft Landing chocolate or two is your solution. So welcome to the show. Really excited to have you both here today. You know, we're going to dive right into it. Yeah. And I've had the experience of trying your product, which we'll talk about in a little while. But you know, we all don't wake up one day and say, you know, hey, I'm gonna invent a reverse edible that's gonna take away the psychoactive effects of THC. You know, we all don't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm gonna, you know, be an entrepreneur in the cannabis space. There's usually a compelling story that leads us down that path. And so I would love to hear from each of you. So whoever would like to go first, you're on.
Sure. So it all started with Eli calling me from his senior year in college and saying, you're not going to believe this, Mom, but I keep hearing about all of these kids who are overdoing it on edibles, and they go to University Health Services, and University Health Services says, we got nothing. You're going to have to ride it out. And so I have always been a firm believer in the power of plants. And I just thought there has to be something. So I went down the rabbit hole. I started sending things to Eli, and the two of us together sort of stumbled upon these studies, peer-reviewed studies of what has become our active ingredient.
Nice.
And then,
yeah, and from there, well, basically, not everyone wakes up one day and says, I'm going to invent a reverse edible, but some people kind of do. So from my perspective, it's the spring of my senior year. It was peak COVID. I was in the job application process, and I am privileged to have a close relationship with my mother. We talk about a lot of things, and it just kind of came up, and we thought there's got to be something more than just drink some water and wait it out. So yeah, we went one foot into that rabbit hole together. It ended up being a very deep rabbit hole. We stumbled upon our active ingredient, and from there it was research on where this active ingredient is naturally occurring. It turns out it's naturally occurring in a variety of different fruits, herbs, and spices, and then kind of playing around with different sources, what tastes good, what's most effective, different mediums. We actually started as a drink, and then consulting with food scientists. There was an issue with water solubility, so we switched to an oat bar, and finally landed on chocolate. So from there, it took about a year on the kitchen table, trying out different things, testing it on friends and family, and then we finally came to the formulation as it is today, and we've been shocked at how overwhelmingly positive the feedback is. And not only does this really work, but it really works quickly, which is very important for a product like this. You know, when you're in that state where you really need to come down, you're going to want something that's going to happen immediately, and you can tell right away, okay, this is working, and it calms you down, gets you in a better state of mind.
Yeah. So we did a really dedicated friends and family round once we were pretty sure we had our proprietary mix and we had the chocolate. And the results were really encouraging, but they were friends and family. So we hired a cannabis nurse. We hired a cannabis nurse to conduct a real arm's length study for us. And she had a lot of experience on clinical trials. And this wasn't at that level, but she brought that lens to coming up with a questionnaire. And people from all over the country, we shipped chocolate all over the country. And the results from that were overwhelmingly positive. That was almost 80% of those participants said that it worked, that it was effective or very effective. And then we had a kind of open response. And the most common open response was, I couldn't believe how quickly it worked.
There you go. Yeah. And that's critical, because when you don't feel good, all you want to do is feel good again.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Time is of the essence. You know, it is, you know, I know my own experience with over consuming too much. It's just that time goes on forever, and it just seems like it's never going to end, and you're never going to feel better. And so that's just amazing that you were able to create something like that. So for the new folks that are watching, let's talk a little bit about what overconsumption of THC looks like. We don't usually see people get into trouble with CBD or the minor cannabinoids, but generally taking too much THC, and what that looks like. What is your experience like with that?
Yeah, so I love this little anecdote. I say everyone has a story, and if you don't have your own story, then you know someone who does. And if neither of you have a story, well, then your story's coming. So it could be your first day trying THC, or you could be an everyday user for 25 years and still slip up with all the different methods of consumption, and mostly through edibles and infused beverages. And you got homemade things. It's very easy to overdo it. And we've been there, right? It's not a great place to be. So having Soft Landing in your back pocket kind of allows you the freedom to try that new strain or make those brownies at home and test the batter as you go, because if you do overdo it, we have your solution.
And I'm going to just interject that's what got me into trouble, was cooking with cannabis, was licking the spoon, testing the batter, sampling it, you know, and before you knew it,
I need more salt. And then,
I mean, how are you going to make brownies and not taste the batter?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That is a common use case that we have found.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so with people that overconsume cannabis, you know, sometimes what happens is the receptors get saturated, and it can cause a lot of dysphoria. People don't feel good. Their heart can beat fast. They can become very sweaty, diaphoretic, nauseated, panicky. I've had people go into full-blown panic attacks that I've seen before. They can feel like they're dying. And they're not. So that's the one thing I want to say is you are not going to die from consuming too much THC, but it's going to feel like you are.
Exactly. And that point on the panic and anxiety, that's a huge part of Soft Landing. Is I know people who say, oh, I used to consume cannabis. I don't anymore because I was getting way too paranoid or anxious. Not necessarily that they had overconsumed, just every time they got high, they were incredibly paranoid. And Soft Landing is really perfect for people suffering from panic and anxiety induced by THC. It kind of cuts it right out, just so you're getting all the positives. And even if you weren't high and you were just having anxiety, you could buy some Soft Landing and start feeling better.
Yep.
There we go. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And you got to think too about, you know, the recreational adult use dispensaries are selling high THC products. So the flower that, you know, the joints, the pre-rolls, the flowers that are being sold in the dispensary have much higher levels of THC than they ever have before, because that's how they're growing it. Yeah. And so that's why we're seeing people will be like, I used to take like 3 or 4 puffs, you know, and I would be comfortably high. But now one puff is enough.
Yes. That is a big target, is people who maybe they consumed cannabis when they were in college and then they stopped, and now they live in a state where there's a lot of recreational dispensaries and it's just kind of all around them. And they're saying, you know, I really enjoyed that. And they walk back in and it is not the cannabis of their youth.
Yeah, it's not the same at all. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, well, here we go. Have either of you ever overconsumed before?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
One of the questions. And so, but prior to soft landing, what did you do? What were the kind of things that you did?
Oh, that I
Wait it out.
To end.
I would eat a lot. I would overconsume other other substances. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, you know, when I've gotten uncomfortably impaired using THC is generally, you know, hydration, you know, eating something in case your blood sugar has dropped, you know, getting into a calm environment, you know, sometimes going outside, listening to music, taking a nap. The issue with overconsumption, if you dial 911 and you go to the hospital, is they're going to slap on cannabis use disorder right on your, and they're going to give you medications. They're going to give you benzodiazepines. They're going to give you drugs that are going to sedate you. And sometimes they can give Haldol, I've heard, and Ativan and whatever. So it's really just to calm you down. They're looking to calm down, you know, that paranoia that people can feel. And so soft landing would be a great product for A, those that are new to cannabis, B, those that are new to cannabis after not using it for many, many years. And even those medical patients too that need to dial up on the THC dosing. You know, I take care of a lot of cancer patients. That's my specialty, cancer and autoimmune conditions, and even children, you know, that I take care of.
Interesting.
You know, that need high dose THC. That would be a great market for pediatrics as well. Because, you know, a lot of these kids do need higher doses of THC. And, you know, and how we monitor it is we look at their eyes and their behavior, you know, and if they're acting a little silly or their eyes are a little glassed over, then we, you know, but sometimes they need that higher dose.
Yeah,
exactly. And so what we're doing is we're trying to build tolerance for these kids, and we build their tolerance while they're sleeping. But what would be nice for them would be to be able to have the chocolate so that they could take the THC in the daytime if they needed to.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we have a science officer who is a professor of anesthesiology at a medical school. His name's Orrin Levy, and he's assured us that the active ingredient in soft landing does not interfere with the medicinal aspects of cannabis. So what we're hoping is we're going to be able to be part of this movement that you and Elizabeth are big activists in, is of bringing plant medicine to more people, including those who are reluctant to try cannabis, even though they've heard from friends, they've read it in the newspaper, but they just have this stigma around the psychoactive effect. Yeah. So soft landing really gives you that control where you can really choose to be as high as you want to be when you want to be.
Yeah, there you go. And so just for the new viewers that are out there, again, a lot of times people will say, oh, I don't want to take CBD. It's going to ruin my high. Soft landing will not ruin your medicinal experience of using THC products. So it doesn't interfere with the medicinal aspects of it. It's just going to dial down the psychoactivity so you can tolerate it better.
Right. We really want people to think of it as a complement to their cannabis use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. We see soft landing as the potential to revolutionize plant medicine, and we see the benefits of plant medicine and think it would be great if more people had safer access to it and could feel more comfortable getting into it, knowing they have this insurance policy if they need it.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you get the idea for the name Soft Landing? How did you?
Oh, that was just a lot of focus groups. We didn't want anything that was really, you know, we didn't want things that were like down and stop and kill, you know, because we really want it. We wanted the name to be part of our ethos, which is we want all cannabis experiences to be positive.
There you go. That's key.
Yeah. We went from buzzkill to high eraser to all these things, and then it just hit us. You know, sometimes in life you just need a soft landing.
Yes.
And here we are.
It's really nice. That's really great name. Really great name.
We really like it.
So how did you arrive at the proprietary mix of ingredients, and are you able to share with us some of those ingredients?
No.
we can say how we get there.
We can say how we got there.
We can't give away the secret recipe, but essentially, this goes back to right when we first went down that first rabbit hole on this active ingredient and what it's naturally occurring in. It's in a variety of different fruits, herbs, and spices. It was just really kind of factoring in what is the higher concentrations and then varieties of ingredients. So for example, there's no banana in it, but say there was banana in it. There's the banana peel versus the stem of the peel. And these all have varying levels of our active ingredients. So it was that while also factoring in taste and kind of the synergistic effect of these ingredients combined.
Right.
And it took a lot of tinkering, a lot of tweaking, but
we went through many iterations. And then we had to go from the kitchen table where Eli had made every piece of chocolate that anyone had ever tried. Yeah. And then we had to go to a manufacturer. So now it's manufactured because we wanted to be able to have it be candy coated so that people wouldn't have to worry about melting.
Yep.
And we also, it's a little sweeter with the candy coating. And it's also, you know, we really think there's such a need for this that we really wanted to be able to grow quickly. So we wanted to have a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Set up.
So is there anyone that shouldn't take it with people that have any type of dietary restrictions?
It's non-dairy.
Okay. That's good.
It's everything in soft landing is on the FDA GRAS list, which is generally recognized as safe.
Okay.
And there's nothing in it that is a known allergen.
And what's great about that is that means you can never eat too many of them. So just like with cannabis, everyone's kind of different. We all have our different tolerances, and there's a lot of different factors at play. For example, I'm a bigger guy. I eat, 2 to 3 of them when I need them, or more if you need it. It's all about where you're at and where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a 2 candy girl.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the average.
Some people are half of a piece. They just bite into one right away. Yeah. They're like, I'm okay.
And also, well, it also depends on where you want to be. Again, you can be as fine as you want to be when you want to be. If you just want to dial it back a little, have a chocolate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So for me, it's all about not being impaired, right? Like being high is one thing. So that's why I like, it's like my mother described being high very well. She goes, I feel good and I'm not high. And I go, well, Mom, what does it mean to feel good and not be high? She says, well, the pains become background noise. I'm sleeping better. I'm giggling a lot more. I'm not so mean. And I'm not so depressed about my medical problems. But are you high? And she goes, no, I'm not impaired. So that to me, but I feel good. So it's like feeling good, but not having the impairment so you can function and do your daily activities.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's all about finding your balance. And
that's right.
I say everyone finds their number.
Yeah. Which is why we really want to be a complement to.
And yes.
Yeah. We never use words like, antidote, that's not what we're about. The other thing about all of the ingredients being on the GRAS list is we can literally be sold anywhere. We could be sold in an elementary school, right? So that's where we ultimately want to be. We want to be in every vending machine in campus dorms so kids don't have to go to University Health Service. They don't have to feel impaired, right? That it will be readily available. But where we are launching and where we're really focusing our efforts is in the medicinal cannabis community, which has really welcomed us. Yeah. And it's not simply that there are medicinal patients who need to use a high THC strain every day, but don't necessarily want the psychoactive effects. There's also the reluctant medicinal patient.
Yes.
And we all know people who could really benefit from plant medicine, but the stigma is too much of a barrier for them.
And that goes back to my mother. So my mother, when she at first, like my mother's a perfect example, and some of the older folks, you know, at first when she found out I was using cannabis, she was not happy. She blocked me on Facebook and wrote me out of her will. I love you, Mom. I'm back in the will. She uses cannabis now, but it took a while. It took a while to get her there. But it's the same thing. And it took a long time for me to get her comfortable because of that fear and that stigma. And it was very interesting. This is just a good story just to go along with, you know, not eating too much. You know, I started her off on CBD isolate, and then we went to broad spectrum CBD. Then we went to full spectrum CBD. And then she was ready to try a little bit of THC. I sent her a chocolate bar with detailed instructions to have 1 square.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And my mother was one of those that didn't listen.
Yes.
And, but, you know, she knew how to mitigate it. So her story was really funny. You know, I said, if you get into trouble, let me know, just eat 1 square. If you don't feel anything, don't take another one, just wait. And
Right.
1.5 the next night, right? Let's just wait it out. Well, of course she said she didn't listen. And she says, I ate 3 squares, which was 15 milligrams of THC, which is way too much for a 75-year-old woman to start. You know, I really wanted her to start with a lower dose. She ended up being okay. I mean, she was able to ride it out, and she knew what to do because I gave her the instructions just in case. And I told her to call me, and she didn't. And I think she didn't call me because she was embarrassed because she didn't listen. Anyways, but these are the types of patients. If my mother had soft landing,
Right.
to go with the chocolate, I could have introduced chocolate to her. Instead of it taking a year for her to try THC, you know, it could have taken a week or 2. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, no, we know a clinician here where we live in Boston whose her father was in hospice, cancer, and finally the opiates got him so constipated that he had to leave hospice and be admitted for 3 days. And it was only after that experience that he was willing to try cannabis. And then he never went back to the opiates. So it can really get a lot of people off opiates who just won't try cannabis. So that's why our whole focus is we want to launch in the medicinal community, especially because, you know, it's a new product and nobody knows what it is.
I also have another idea for you as well. So I'm on the board of directors of the American Cannabis Nurses Association, and maybe what we can do is hook you up with them, and you can do a webinar with them as well.
Terrific.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
That's exactly what we're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, because we need people who are out there educating the cannabis consumer. So it's, you know, it's like rewarding for us that we get to be part of expanding plant medicine. Yeah. And it's also a way for us to network with people who can learn about, understand, and educate people what our product is.
Okay, so now we know that soft landing is the reverse edible. What are some of the medicinal benefits of soft landing?
So soft landing's active ingredient has a lot of neuroprotective benefits. And there are multiple studies that demonstrate that this active ingredient improves cognitive function. It reduces neuroinflammation. The effect is mediated through the CB2 receptors and also the PPR gamma pathways. And our science advisor who wrote this lengthy report, which I'm quoting from, I cannot tell you that I have a grasp of this, but I can repeat what he has taught me, which one of the things he was so excited about when, you know, he signed an NDA, so we told him what our active ingredient was, and he just started the research, and he said, I'm so happy that it's not via the CB1 receptor. And he was worried about that. And he said that Big Pharma has developed several different remedies that counteracted the psychoactive THC by working on the CB1 receptors. And they started clinical trials and they had to halt them because they were having horrific examples of people with suicidal ideation.
That was the Monavant drug. They were using that for appetite. So since they know that THC plugs into CB1 and can stimulate appetite, and that's an agonist at CB1, they developed a full-blown agonist at CB1 with this drug called Rimonavant. And I think that might be
Rimonavant. Yes.
Rimonavant that they were using for weight loss. So this Rimonavant drug that plugs into CB1 receptor fully blocks it. So when you're fully blocking the CB1 receptor, people were having horrible, horrible side effects. Of course, they weren't eating, but they also were feeling horrible.
Right.
Depressed, dysphoric, and suicidal.
Yeah.
And so we do need to activate CB1 receptors, you know, and and if you think about it, you think about the body and the endocannabinoid system, the plant makes THC, we make a molecule called anandamide, and the molecular structure is the same and plugs into the CB1 receptor. So we produce anandamide upon demand to nudge the CB1 receptor. With THC, it's a little bit more of an agonist, and it plugs in and is tight on that receptor. So that's why people see the effects of THC. Whereas anandamide, mostly people will see it when they do the runner's high. That's one of the things when people exercise and they're running, they're feeling good. You know, it's not necessarily the endorphins, it's more along the lines of anandamide. And there was a new study that just came out, that they actually blocked the endorphins, and people still had the runner's high, basically saying the efficacy of it is that this was anandamide. This is an anandamide, the bliss molecule. So anandamide is the molecule that we make in our body. It's an internal endogenous cannabinoid that mimics THC, same molecular structure, plugs in. So yeah, so it's really good that this doesn't do that.
Right.
This works on
how it works. That's not how it works. So
different set of receptors.
Right.
Modulate the stress response. That's exactly what's happening, right? That's what we're doing is you're modulating.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So it's got anxiolytic properties, and it also improves cognitive function. So the other thing that he taught us was that what's great about our active ingredient is that it has anxiolytic effects without sedation.
There you go.
So, and these are all based on animal studies. So he also said that, you know, even though there's a low expression of the CB2 receptors in the brain, there is emerging research that indicates that the CB2 receptors also really play a key role in cognitive modulation. And that's the pathway that soft landing works on. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically CB2, the PPR gamma receptor, and another pathway is the BDNF.
Oh yeah, brain-derived neurotropic factor.
Yes.
BDNF. That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, he's written a report where, I mean, he cites over 50 peer-reviewed studies that explain this active ingredient. And so, you know, his overall conclusion in this report is that it's got a well-established safety profile, and it's got pharmacological characteristics that have potent neuroprotective and neurocognitive properties. And it's a very promising ingredient in products aimed at reversing the psychoactive effects of THC.
In other words, it works.
Yeah. So we knew it worked from our friends and family, including ourselves, from what the cannabis nurse did, and we just didn't know how it worked. Yeah. So now,
you know how it works.
Now we know how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So. That's amazing. That is amazing. And so where will it be for sale?
Well, we're going to start direct to consumer, and we'll probably start with medicinal dispensaries just in New England. And then we really want to kind of build our brand and get our testimonials and get people talking about soft landing and get some organic press. And then we'll kind of expand and we'll get to the recreational user, but we really, our heart is with the medicinal patient. And that's what our whole go-to-market strategy is based on.
Exactly. Basically, we found something that has the potential to revolutionize the way cannabis is consumed. And then we realized that not only will this help people that are just consuming recreational, but we actually have the potential to help a lot of people who are suffering from various ailments. And that really resonates with us. So that's why we wanted to go medicinal focused right from the start. So at launch, it will be available for sale on our website, as well as select medicinal dispensaries. Right. But as we were saying earlier, since everything is on that FDA GRAS list, the potential for soft landing is that it could be sold literally anywhere. So that's where we want to get to eventually. But we found it best to start in these two targets.
So we want to start medicinal and really establish a great rapport with the community, have a bunch of testimonials. And then, you know, we're located in Boston. What do we have? A lot of colleges. So then we can reach out to the kind of student life deans and just say, you know, this is being recommended by clinicians across the United States. And there's some validation there. And that you know, we want to be, you know, in every RA's toolkit, right?
Yes, every RA's toolkit, and also the health services as well.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And ultimately get to the health services. And then, you know, when you send Timmy off to college, you know, you're sure Timmy's not going to overconsume, but maybe Timmy's roommate will. And so let's have Soft Landing be in the off to college kit as well.
Yes. And what I really like about Soft Landing, I'm just going to kind of summarize what I heard just now, is that it is a medicinal product that is not going to take away the therapeutic effects of cannabinoids. It has its own health benefits, its own medicinal therapeutic potential, working on different receptor sites. So when you're working on the CB2 receptors, you're truly working on the immune system, and the immune system actually carries over to the microbiome, which carries over to the central nervous system, which carries over to the brain. We're all connected, if you know my Green Nurse umbrella, and that it's very, very safe. And so it has, and all of the ingredients are GRASP products considered to be safe. And so it's not just a candy. It is a medicinal product to reverse THC consumption and enhance the cannabis user's experience and allow medicinal cannabis to do what it's supposed to do, which is to help the patient.
Exactly. And give the patient control, right?
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Good work. So how can people stay in touch, and do you have how they can get updates, and, you know, when will it be for sale?
Yeah, for sure. If you go to our website, getsoftlanding.com, it's actually under construction, but we do have, you can add yourself to our mailing list to stay updated on all things Soft Landing, and we will be updating that with developments as we get closer to launch. And then we also have
but we are announcing on this podcast, we just put this on the website. So this is the first time that we are announcing that we really want to build a community. And so we are offering people to become a Soft Landing VIP. So if you sign up, it's just $1, and you will, first of all, you'll be able to buy one and get one free when we launch. So you'll have a special code for that. But we kind of want to build this with the people who are looking for Soft Landing. So, you know, this is a color that the manufacturer chose because we were just in the R&D phase, right? So Soft Landing could be any color of the rainbow. So, you know, we'll hone in on 3 or 4 colors, but we'd love people to tell us, what do you think that color should look like? We're going to be going through package designs. We're going to be trying out taglines. You know, right now we've got, you know, be as high as you want to be when you want to be. But, you know, we're going to come up with others, and we really want to include people and get your feedback now as we're building our product, building the brand. And this is just, you know, the launch. We're going to come up with other iterations of our active ingredient. We might come out with a savory product next. We don't really know, but we really want to include people, and now is the time. So please go to our website and sign up.
Right. What I love, one of my quotes is my favorite quotes, and I think this is yours, Eli. This is the perfect product to buy when you get too high.
Yep.
See, it's fun. You can have a lot of fun. Yeah.
Exactly.
What to buy when you get too high?
When you get too high.
Exactly. And we love the idea of we love the idea of, you know, engaging with the community, and kind of, you know, they can follow us as we grow and kind of feel like we're growing together as we embark on this new endeavor within cannabis.
Yes. And very excited to announce that both Eli and his mom, Alice, will be coming to the Holistic Caring Network to do a webinar in September. We're going to announce that date probably in a week or two after we put this all together. But they're going to come do a webinar, do a slide presentation, and give us more information on this amazing product. So you guys are awesome. So glad to have you on. Do you have any other words of wisdom for our viewers out there before we wrap it up?
I would just like to say that the cannabis industry has been so welcoming. It's amazing to me, you know, to be we're a new company we're launching, and just everyone is so enthusiastic and wants to help and thinks it's just a very needed product. And we really feel like this general level of support from people in cannabis. It's really wonderful.
Good. Well, you're doing good work, and that's the part, and is that it's going to help more people get access to cannabis, to this amazing plant. The therapeutic use of cannabis is the use of cannabis for medicinal, wellness, and healing purposes. It's personal and subjective to each consumer, with objective criteria being improvement in one of the 5 health domains without negatively impacting any of the others. So having a product like this truly is going to contribute to the therapeutic use of cannabis. So grateful to have you both on. Looking forward to seeing you again in September, and stay tuned for more information on that. And thank you everyone for watching today. And we're going to close out with one of my favorite videos. Again, it's truly about living your best life and helping others do the same.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And you know, the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me you couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.